That is one bright light. I've got like spots in front of my eyes here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pam DeMoff, and I'm the MP for Oakville North Burlington. And I just want to welcome everyone here today and start off by just acknowledging that Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. So it is an absolute honor to be here today. We have a lot to celebrate. We're celebrating an agreement between the federal government and Burlington under the Housing Accelerator Fund, which was reached thanks to a lot of hard work and dedication on both sides. We're also celebrating cooperation, and I can't stress enough the cooperative way that the Mayor, Council, and the City have worked with us to ensure the best for our city. It's a triumph over finger pointing and proves the old adage that we can go further when we go together. But most importantly, today we're celebrating each and every one of the new homes that will be built because of this agreement. A home is a central part of the life stories of the people who live in it. And so we're celebrating those stories, thousands of stories. We know that we have a housing crisis here in Burlington. This agreement that we're announcing today is an action plan that will get more housing built for Burlington, housing that the city needs. This is what Canadians want from their governments, action that rises above politics and division to build real results. By working together like this, we can fix Canada's housing crisis. Together, we can support Canadians struggling in these challenging times, and together we can build a better future. This announcement is one that our next speaker and I have been working on for some time, and it is my pleasure to welcome my friend and colleague, the Honourable Karina Gould, Member of Parliament for Burlington and Leader of the Government in the House of Commons. Karina?
Thanks, Pam. Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Good morning, everyone. I have to say I'm really thrilled to be here. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not, but I'm glad that this baby has decided that this announcement is very important. So, and it is. I'm really thrilled to be here at City Hall today. And before I get to the announcement, I just want to lend my congratulations to the Mayor, to Council, to all of City staff who worked so hard on this application. And you took really bold steps. And you worked collaboratively with the federal government to increase the housing supply in our city sustainably and thoughtfully. And if you could just join me in giving them a round of applause, because they did really good work. It's not always easy at the municipal level to take these kinds of steps, and this council and city staff should be recognized and applauded for this commitment and this vision. And I know from the many conversations that we have had just how hard they worked on their application. I'm so grateful to be able to work with these outstanding colleagues who share the passion I have for this community. And it's not for nothing that Burlington consistently ranks as one of the top places to live in Canada. And frankly, therefore in the world. As someone who grew up here, who is raising my quite literally growing family here, I know we have something special here in Burlington. And today's announcement will enable this community to grow in ways that will allow even more people and families in all of their diversity to contribute to this wonderful city and place that we all call home. So that's exactly what today's announcement is about. One of the most important aspects of our day-to-day lives, our homes. The program we're announcing is built on a simple idea: helping municipalities change how houses get built in their communities so that in turn we can overcome our housing crisis across the country. And specifically, it's about coming together as a society to build more homes faster here in Burlington. And to do that, I am proud to announce, on behalf of Housing Minister Sean Fraser, that the City of Burlington will receive over $21 million in incentive payments. This is through, as Pam mentioned, the Housing Accelerator Fund to deliver significant, lasting changes to the way homes are built in our great city, and changes that will tear down the barriers and stumbling blocks that slow housing down. These actions together will help build over 600 new homes over the next 3 years and more than 5,000 over the next 10. New homes for neighbors who are going to frequent our local businesses. New friends who are going to help you shovel your driveway after a snowstorm, which we all needed this past weekend. New citizens who will make this city even greater than it already is. This is what the Housing Accelerator Fund is supporting. Through the fund, federal and municipal governments are working together towards our shared goal of fast-tracking the creation of at least 100,000 homes from coast to coast to coast over the next 3 years. And cities and regions across the country estimate that this will lead to the creation of over 420,000 permitted homes over the next 10 years. And so today, we're announcing this exciting new plan for the City of Burlington. But we're also showcasing a new and more profound partnership between our two orders of government. It's a new way of working, and it comes at a time when we really need to be thinking about creative ways to unlock housing that is affordable across Canada. And here in Burlington, it looks like 7 bold initiatives that will promote creating more transit station areas and encouraging the building of residential units around them. Its provisions are bold, such as allowing 4 units to be built on any lot citywide, allowing 6 stories or more close to major transit station areas to add more density around them, and they're tailored specifically to this city and our needs. It also looks like incentives for new rental homes that are below market rent, for people who need them the most, and creating a housing connection center to build community and partner capacity. It will develop and make available standard pre-approved unit designs by form type, including additional residential unit, including modular and prefab. And it looks like more municipality-owned lands available, as the City of Burlington is willing to buy lands and reimagine existing city-owned lands to deliver new housing. These sorts of changes will improve the housing situation in Burlington now, and they will keep paying off into the future. This announcement and the Housing Accelerator Fund as a whole builds on past successes we've had under our National Housing Strategy. And the strategy is taking on housing affordability in Canada from a bunch of different angles at once. It is providing support for people across the country with a focus on those most in need. It's making sure that we have the right kind of supply where we need it. And it's fostering innovation in the housing sector. It's building a better housing system that leaves no Canadian behind. Because we're not just building housing units, we're building communities. The kind of communities that we want and the kinds that Canada needs. The kind of communities that leave no one behind. Communities we can be proud to call home. The plan we're announcing today is building a stronger community for everyone here in Burlington. Thank you. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Her Worship, Mary Ann Mead Ward.
Well, welcome. What a great way to start there, right? A huge thank you to my colleagues and friends, Karina Gould and Pam Demoff. We would not be here without your help, and I'll say a little bit more about that. I do want to welcome all of you to today's announcement. It is fantastic to see such a full house, and I do want to note who's in the room, because I really think it's important to note who's in the room. So first of all, my council colleagues who have been very ambitious, who have been courageous, who have done everything that we we need to do on our side of the table to make sure that we can enable more housing faster. So Kelvin Galbraith, Ward 1 Councillor, who's also our Deputy Mayor for Red Tape Reduction and Business. Ward 2 Councillor Lisa Kearns, Deputy Mayor for Community Engagement and Partnerships, keyword. Ward 3 Councillor Rory Nissan, who's our Deputy Mayor for the Environment and Climate Change. Ward 4 Councillor Shauna Stolte, who is the Deputy Mayor for Housing. We knew we need to have a Deputy Mayor for Housing, and she's been very passionate. She and I will actually be co-chairing a new pipeline to permit committee at the city, which I can certainly answer questions about. And it's one of the things that we're doing that is innovative and creative and will get us where we need to go. And last but certainly not least, Councillor Angelo Bentavenia, Ward 6, who's our Deputy Mayor for Recreation and Community Services. And I mention those portfolios because that is an innovative thing that we've done here at the City of Burlington as well. But as Karina said and Pam has said, this is about more than just building units of housing. This is about building complete communities and neighborhoods where people want to call home. This is about building homes. And all of those portfolios are critically important to making sure that people not only have a place to live and shelter over their head, but a place that they want to be. And we know Burlington is the #1 community in Canada. So we hope, yes. We want to welcome, as Karina said, another 600 families to our community in the next year, 5,000 over the next 10 years. It's an incredible achievement. I also want to note the staff, and I won't name them individually, but I want you to know who's here from the departments because that is really important too. So of course we have our government relations manager, Helen Wallahura, is here. I need to mention her because she stick-handled this through. And when we got the call saying, can you be even more ambitious, she didn't hesitate to huddle us together to make sure that we were well positioned to do everything we can to build communities. We also, of course, have representatives from our planning department, our legal department, we need to make sure we cross all the T's, our engineering department so that you have stormwater management in those nice new communities, our transportation department, our strategic initiatives department, who else am I missing? We've got our communications folks, of course. We need to tell the story and shout it from the rooftops. Our recreation department is here because we want people to have things to do when they get here. Our digital services, we are transforming how we move things through our permit process so that people can get that piece of paper in their hand and get on with building new homes. Our finance department is here to make sure that we spend that wisely. And our human resources department is here to make sure that we have the people in place to get the job done. So if I've missed anybody, wave your hand and I will acknowledge you, but I think we've covered it. That's basically what the city does. So Municipal 101 there for you folks. But I'm thrilled that all of these leaders and staff of those departments have chosen to take time out of their day to acknowledge the importance of this announcement. So thank you for being here. So the 21 million, that I didn't do any of my script yet, so, but I'm going to try not to repeat what's been said today and get right to the heart of it so we can answer some of your questions. But the 21 million that was announced in partnership with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation's Housing Accelerator Fund is a tremendous opportunity for us for fast-tracking 618 housing units over the next 3 years and begin to implement some of the key strategies that are in our housing strategy. We have built a housing strategy last term of council, and that was something that Councillor Shauna Stolte was deeply involved in with our community. I want to thank the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities, Sean Fraser, and of course our 3 MPs who worked so hard for us, Karina Gould, who is here, Pam Demoff, and Adam Van Coverden as well. I want to thank our city manager, Tim Camiso, who has joined us here this morning, Helen Wallahura, who I mentioned, and our deputy mayor for housing, Councillor Shauna Stolte. I do also want to mention, because I'm thinking about the pipeline to permit, that we have representatives of the development industry here this morning, and we have West End home builders represented and the building industry land development. And I think that just shows how committed we are to working together, and we'll see them this afternoon at our pipeline to permit committee. Partnerships is key. no one level of government, no agency, no nonprofit, and certainly not the development industry can do this alone. The challenge that we have in front of us is something that has never been done in the history of our country, ever, not once. The magnitude of making sure that people have a place to live in the next 10 years it's like our moon landing. And we need everybody on deck to make that happen. And so to see our partners being committed to putting aside partisan differences, putting aside politics to make sure that we're all here together, looking for how we can solve this is the way that we will be successful. And I know that we will be successful because of everyone that is in the room today, and we'll be out in the field together as we get this done. So, Karina touched on some of the things that we have done to make us successful. I'm not going to go over those, but I will mention that we have also, in our 2024 budget and previous budgets, invested heavily in making sure that we have the right staff and the right process in place to get this done quickly. So 2024, $2.28 million on top of earlier investments that we've made. We've approved a development concierge service tailored to supporting applications from the hope and a dream phase to the I'm getting shovel in the ground phase. And in addition, we did unanimously as a council endorse the pipeline to permit standing committee of council to help bring the best minds together in all the sectors that matter. And this is unique in Burlington. It's not ever been done that we're aware of anywhere. It brings together council members, members of the development industry, citizen representation, and stakeholders to understand what the challenges are and turn our minds to the solutions. So that first meeting is early February, and I'm very excited to see that get going. So we're committed to doing our part. We have 41,000 units right now in our development pipeline. Everything from the hope and a dream pre-consultation to we're just waiting for developers to come in and pull their permit and get the job done. And we know that we'll get where we need to go. So again, thank you to all of you for coming. Thanks to every single person in this room. You have contributed to making this happen. And our friends in the media, thanks for telling the story. It's great news to start off 2024. And I think we're going to take some questions, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Marianne. I just want to say your leadership and the leadership of your council and staff have really put the residents of Burlington at the core of what you're doing. Your willingness to work with us as the federal government has resulted in us being here today. So thank you to everybody. Burlington is a city I'm very proud to represent. It's a great place to live, and it's been recognized as such. And that's why so many people want to come here. So this action plan is one that supports that growth. And I'd like to echo my fellow speakers in thanking all of you for being here today. And we will take questions if anyone has any questions. So we don't have a moderator, so please just come to the mic, identify yourselves, and then one of us will take the questions. I see somebody from CHCH is right there ready to go.
Yeah, we're ready. So Al Sweeney from CHCH. First of all, I have a question for the mayor, if I could. Could you explain what kind of impact is this going to have on the city, and how do you go from 600 to 5,000?
That's over a period of time. The 600 is the next 3 years, and over 10 years it's 5,000. What it means, it means that more people who want to live in Burlington can live here, that have a roof over their head. We have folks that want to choose Burlington because it's a great place to live, and there are, housing is expensive across Ontario, so this will help with affordability, and part of that is addressing supply and new ways of delivering that housing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask the minister a question, please?
Sure.
I just want to give you a chance to answer this. This is something that we hear quite often. You guys were in government as this housing crisis came along. You got us into this. How can people trust that you can get us out of this?
Well, so I'm going to push back a little bit on that in the sense that this is a crisis that has been building for decades. The federal government got out of housing in the early 1990s, right? When we came into government in 2015, we said we were going to create the National Housing Strategy. We did that in 2017. Since then, we've built or refurbished over 500,000 homes across the country, and the Housing Accelerator Fund is part of that. So people are talking about the housing crisis right now because it's coming to a head, but we've been working to create solutions on this for already almost 10 years. I mean, since we took office. And I'll say that when I was knocking on doors in Burlington in 2015, people were worried about affordability. I hear the same kinds of issues today, but we have different measures in place that are really paying dividends. And what we're starting to see is those projects that we invested in, say, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the ribbons are being cut because they've been built, right? And so if we look at Hamilton, for example, the Indwell developments that are opening up now, we have a couple projects here in Burlington on the Queen's Quay and on Plains Road West that were funded through the National Housing Strategy, the Rapid Initiative. So all of these things that we started investing in 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 8 years ago are now starting to be available for people because they've been built. And this is one additional pillar that we're working on. And we recognize that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think the mayor said it best. It has to be all levels of government working together. And this is where the Housing Accelerator Fund is really exciting because it's about incentivizing that partnership with municipalities, with federal funding. And one of the question that you asked originally about how do you get from 600 to 5,000, well, it's about all the initiatives that Burlington is taking to change how they approve funding, how they get how they approve housing, how they get houses built, to really unlock that potential in our community.
So just to follow that up, any sense of how long it's going to take for the market to get back to some sort of balance where a person with an average salary can afford a house?
Well, that's a big question. Yeah, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not with the Bank of Canada, I'm with the Government of Canada. But what I would say is that, Canada is a country that is growing, right? It is a country that people around the world want to come to because we have something really special here. Just like I talked about how we have something special here in Burlington, there's a reason why people around the world still choose Canada as the #1 destination to immigrate to, because we have been able to do something that very few other countries have. And despite the fact that I'm having a baby, we actually have a very low birth rate in Canada. And so even just to maintain our population, we need to continue to bring newcomers here. So recognizing that, we need to continue to grow our population to support the social programs that we have, to support this great country that we have, we also need to make sure that we have sufficient housing stock. And today's announcement is one of those pieces to ensure that we're working together with municipalities to get housing into a better space for all Canadians.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to say, when you look at housing, it's always in the past been incumbent on municipalities to deal with it. And we've said, City of Burlington, you have to deal with housing. This is the first time that the federal government has taken an active role in partnering with the municipalities. And I just want to give a shout out to Burlington. They're actually leaders in the country when it comes to how they're dealing with development applications, having a deputy mayor for red tape reduction. I was on Oakville Council for 5 years, and that was the #1 thing I heard from people who wanted to build, was it took too long to get their permits. Burlington is a leader in Canada, not just in our region, in how they're doing this and how they're working together and forming those partnerships with the residents of Burlington, with the development industry, and with the federal government. So, kudos to the leadership being shown here, because I don't think people recognize just how well it's going, and it's the first time the federal government has stepped in and said, we're going to be a partner with you if you're willing to work with us. And Burlington put up their hand and said, we want to work with you. We're willing to work with the federal government in order to solve the problem that is the housing crisis right now. Oh, I'm moderating. Any other questions? Okay. Well, oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any specific projects or applications that this funding will in the shorter term be supporting?
I don't know. I'll turn that to the mayor.
Yeah, I rather than rely on my faulty memory on a Monday morning, I would just refer you to, this is all published through a Housing Accelerator Fund application, but part of it does relate to digital transformation and making sure that we get the permits. We know things are in the bus that people can apply easily, that they can get their piece of paper in the hand, because it is all about getting shovel in the ground. If we do everything on our end to make it faster, we will enable that to get built faster, and that's the goal.
Did you have any other questions? Burlington Post? No? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, that will wrap it up. We're going to do a picture before we completely break. And do you want it with one with the three of us and one with the council? That would be great. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just glad we're making